My name is Rachel. I am 34 years old, and I am the mother of 3 beautiful daughters who are the center of my world. Their names are Hannah, Lucy, and Emma. Whenever I say their names, my heart softens, the way dawn softens the darkness just before the sun rises. I love them more than anything. I love them more than I have ever loved myself, and maybe that is why I have survived so much. Maybe that is how I held on when life tried to break me over and over again. Life has never been gentle with me. It has never handed me anything easily. But even in the hardest moments, even when my tears soaked the pillow night after night, I still found myself waking up and trying again. Because when you have children who depend on you, giving up is no longer an option. You show up even when you're tired. You fight even when you're hurting. And you hope. You hope more fiercely than you breathe. When I was a little girl, the world was already preparing me for loneliness. My mother died when I was 9. I remember her hands, warm, gentle, always smelling like flower and lavender. I remember her voice, soft enough to calm storms inside me. And then she was gone. Her absence felt like a door slamming shut forever. After that, I went to live with my grandmother. She was kind in her own quiet way, but she was old. Her steps were slow, her hands shook when she buttoned my clothes, and sometimes she forgot what she was saying mid-sentence. But she loved me, and when the world felt cold, that love was enough. When I was 16, she passed away too. I remember sitting alone on the edge of her bed after the funeral. Her room smelled like powder and peppermint. I told myself I wasn't going to cry, but I did. I cried until I felt empty, until my throat ached and my head throbbed. I cried because I was a child with no one left. By 19, I thought I had finally found something steady. Someone steady. I met a man who was funny and sweet in the beginning. He made me laugh. He held my hands when I felt anxious. He talked about dreams like he had pockets full of them. We married quickly, too quickly maybe. But at that age, loneliness often disguises itself as love. At 20, I had Hannah, my first daughter. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and in that moment, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't just living for myself anymore. A year later, Lucy came. Then little Emma, with her soft curls and sleepy eyes. But when Emma was still a baby, something happened I never saw coming. My husband left. No note. No goodbye, no reason. No explanation. He simply disappeared, as if we were a chapter he didn't want to finish. He never sent money, never called, never asked about his daughters. It was like we had never existed to him, like the years we shared were made of smoke instead of memories. And just like that, I was alone again. We lived in a small apartment. The building was old. The paint peeled from the walls, and the heater rattled like it was coughing. Every month, the rent arrived like a reminder of my fear. Every day, I carried the weight of bills, groceries, clothes, school supplies, and everything else 3 growing girls needed. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a good job. I didn't have family to help. I didn't have friends I could rely on, but I had my girls. And they had me, so I worked. I became a taxi driver. But I didn't own a car. I had to rent one every month. The rental fees were high. The gas was expensive. Some nights, after paying everything, I barely had enough money left to buy bread and rice. Still, I drove. Every day, every night, sometimes in the bright sun, sometimes in the biting cold, sometimes in rain so heavy it felt like the sky was falling apart. Some passengers were kind. They smiled. They thanked me. They asked how my day was. Others shouted. Some didn't pay. Some slammed the door so hard it made my heart jump. Some left wrappers, bottles, and crumbs in the back seat for me to clean after a long shift. But no matter what, I didn't stop, because Hannah needed school shoes. Lucy needed warm clothes. Emma needed crayons and notebooks. And we all needed a roof and electricity. There were nights when I wanted to cry behind the steering wheel. Nights when my back hurt. Nights when my hands felt numb from gripping the wheel. Nights when my stomach ached because I didn't eat so my daughters could. But every morning, I woke up and kept going. One evening, winter came down on the city like a blanket soaked in ice water. The sky was dark. The wind was sharp. The rain beat against the ground like fists. I picked up my daughters from school. Hannah sat in the front. Lucy and Emma curled up in the back, shivering. "Mom, I'm cold," Emma whispered. She was only 5. Her voice was small. "I know, sweetheart. We're almost home." I reached over and turned on the heater, but the car stayed cold. Maybe the heater was too old, or maybe the storm was too strong. The roads were empty. No cars. No lights except a few dim street lamps flickering weakly. The asphalt glistened with rain, and I gripped the steering wheel tightly. My hands trembled. Hannah looked at me with worried eyes. Then, without warning, a flash of blinding light. A loud noise like thunder cracking the sky, a violent force slamming into us. The world spinning, the girls screaming, my body thrown forward. Pain shooting everywhere, darkness swallowing everything. I woke up to a white ceiling. The room smelled of medicine and disinfectant. I heard a beeping machine somewhere near my head. My throat felt dry, like I had swallowed dust. For a moment I couldn't move. I couldn't understand why my body felt heavy, why my chest ached, why I couldn't breathe deeply. Then I remembered. My daughters. Hannah, I whispered. Lucy, Emma. A nurse appeared beside me. She had kind eyes. The kind that made you feel safe even when everything inside you was trembling. "Don't move too much," she said gently. "You were in an accident. My daughters, it was all I cared about. They're safe," she said, placing her warm hand over mine. "They're okay." Tears filled my eyes instantly. Relief washed over me like a warm wave. A few minutes later, the door opened, and my girls ran in. "Mama!" They cried. They hugged me, kissed me, touched my face. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I held them as tightly as my injured body allowed. Then the doctor came in. He looked serious. "You have a broken leg," he said. "You need surgery, and you will need weeks of rest afterward." "I can't rest," I said. "I have to work. I have to pay rent. I have to take care of my daughters." He shook his head gently. "You need to heal first." But there was something else. Something worse. A thought that hit me like another crash. The car. The rental car. Destroyed. And worse, I had hit a very expensive car. The owner demanded $20,000. I didn't have savings. I didn't have insurance for that kind of damage. I didn't have anything. I buried my face in my hands and cried. My daughters held me, confused and scared. They didn't understand the bills or the debt or the fear. They only knew that their mother was crying. That night, I felt broken. The next day, something unexpected happened. A nurse came into my room, holding a newspaper. "Your story is online," she said. "What story?" "Someone wrote about what happened to you. People are sharing it everywhere." I didn't understand. Why would anyone care about my life, my struggles? But slowly messages started coming. People sent small amounts of money, $10, $5, $20. It wasn't much, but it felt like warm hands holding us up when we were slipping. With that money, we bought food, warm clothes, paid a bit of rent. It was the first time I'd felt hope in a long time. Then one night, my phone rang. A deep voice spoke. "I saw your story," he said, "and I want to help." "Who are you?" I asked. "You will see soon," he replied. 2 days later, a group of people came to the hospital. They brought flowers for me, toys for my daughters, warm clothes, and food. Then a young man walked in. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile. "You don't know me," he said, "but I know you." He sat beside my bed, silent for a moment. "Why do you want to help me?" I asked. "Because I can," he said simply. He explained that he had seen my story online. He had felt something break inside him when he read about me and my daughters. He gathered his team, raised money, and wanted to make sure we were safe. They paid all my hospital bills. Every cent. They paid for the surgery. They paid for my medicine. They paid for things I never would have been able to afford. But that was not all. The new home 2 weeks later. When I left the hospital with my cane and slow steps, the young man and his team drove us somewhere new. I thought they were taking us home, but they had something else planned. We entered a beautiful neighborhood. Clean streets, tall trees, warm lights hanging from branches, flowers blooming in small front gardens. We stopped in front of a beautiful house with a red door and white windows. "Where are we?" I asked. "This is your new home," the young man said. I stared at him. I shook my head. I didn't understand. "This house belongs to you," he said softly. "No rent, no debt. It is yours." My legs gave out and I fell to my knees crying. My daughters hugged me, their small arms wrapping around my shaking body. Inside, the house was warm. Bright rooms, beds for each girl, soft blankets, books, toys, clean clothes, fresh food in the kitchen. Someone had even placed a framed photo of me and my daughters on the living room wall, the one taken the day they hugged me in the hospital. That night, I tucked each of my daughters into their new beds. They slept peacefully, warm and safe. I kissed their foreheads and whispered, "I love you." For the first time in years, I slept without fear. The next morning, the young man returned. We sat in the kitchen. I drank tea. He drank coffee. "Rachel," he said, "what is your biggest dream?" I froze. I hadn't been asked that in years, maybe ever. "I want to open a small supermarket," I said softly. "A place with fresh food, warm bread, good energy. A place where people feel welcome and safe." He smiled. "Then let's make it happen." 2 months later, our small supermarket opened. It wasn't big, but it was beautiful. Fresh fruits lined the shelves, bright vegetables, bread that filled the air with warmth, rice, beans, milk, cheese. A small corner for coffee and tea. People from the neighborhood came. Some came to shop. Some came to say welcome. Some came just to smile. I worked at the counter. Hannah swept the floor. Lucy arranged the bread. Emma handed candies to small children. We worked together. We laughed together. We healed together. For the first time, I felt free. I learned the young man's name, Daniel. One evening when the girls were playing, I asked him, "Why did you help me the way you did?" He looked down at his hands. "I lost my mother when I was young," he said. I remember the silence, the fear, the emptiness. When I saw your story, I saw my childhood all over again. I wanted to help someone the way I wished someone had helped us. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I whispered. He smiled gently. "Because this story isn't about me. It's about you. You are the one who survived. You are the hero. Months passed. The girls smiled more. They made friends. They slept peacefully at night. They talked about dreams instead of worries. Emma drew pictures of our new home. Lucy wrote stories about the store. Hannah helped me manage money and expenses. We were not rich, but we had enough. We had peace. We had laughter. We had a future. One day I found an old photo of myself, taken before the accident. I looked tired, lost, worried. Then I looked in the mirror. I saw a woman who had survived storms, a woman who had rebuilt her life, a woman who had found hope again. Even now, sometimes I wake up at night. I check on my daughters. I touch their small hands. I kiss their foreheads, and I whisper, "I love you." I remember all the nights I cried alone in the taxi, all the days I drove through storms, all the times I wanted to break, all the moments I felt invisible. But I didn't give up. I kept going, because deep inside me, there was a tiny spark of belief that life could get better, and it did. Today, I open my supermarket every morning with a smile. I turn on the lights. I welcome customers. I stand in a home that is mine. I stand in a life that once felt impossible. I thank the strangers who helped me. I thank Daniel. I thank everyone who believed in me. But more than anyone, I thank my 3 daughters, because they gave me a reason to fight. This is not just my story. It is our story. We started with nothing. Now we have everything that truly matters: a home, a job, a future, and a family held together by love. And I believe, deep in my heart, that even in the darkest moments, kindness can find you. Hope can find you, and when they do, they change everything.